I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
In 1964, conservative Barry Goldwater ran for president on the Republican ticket. One of the highlights of his campaign was a televised speech given by a Hollywood actor whose star had been waning.
Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. This is the issue of this election.
Goldwater lost the election, but Reagan's speech raised his own political profile and gave him the momentum to run for governor of California 2 years later. Goldwater and Reagan represented a growing backlash of political and social conservatism emerging around the country.
The conservatives in the 1960s were not a united group in the sense that there were divisions among them over political strategies, over tactics, and in terms of their world views and their priorities. But they were nonetheless united in terms of their opposition to what they saw as a collective enemy, namely American liberalism.
I am strong.
The conservative movement was made up of economic conservatives on the one hand and social and religious conservatives on the other. For the latter, it was the women's movement that posed the biggest threat. In the 1970s, the Equal Rights Amendment became a lightning rod.
Equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex.
We in the second wave thought, oh, well, this is just this little leftover thing, it won't be hard. So we didn't understand its transformational power.
What everyone assumed was that, well, everybody agrees that women are equal now, and we need to write this in the Constitution, just the way we wrote the 14th Amendment to essentially make men equal. What they didn't understand, that for a minority, but for a very large minority of Americans, this strikes at the foundation of the biblical family.
We started an organization called Stop ERA with a specific purpose of defeating the Equal Rights Amendment. And then as the years went on, what I think that I did was to create what we now call the pro-family movement. So I put together the Catholics and the Baptists and the Methodists and the Mormons and the Orthodox Jews, many people who had never been together before, may have been slightly suspicious of each other, and told them we're all going to work together to defeat the Equal Rights Amendment because we all saw it as a threat on the values we cared about.
If these amendments are put on the floor of the House, they will pass.
The first main tactic we did was to go to the state legislatures and ask them to hold a hearing. And all we needed was equal time, and we could convince anybody that there is no benefit that anyone was ever able to show that ERA would give women. At the same time, we were able to present a whole catalog of unhappy results.
Abortion funding, gay rights, drafting women.
They were saying that it would permit homosexual marriage, which is not true at all. They were saying that it would integrate bathrooms, not true. They were saying that it would force women into combat, not true. It foundered not on American public opinion, which always supported it in the majority. It foundered on two things, I think. One is the nature of state legislatures, or many state legislatures, who controls them. And the other was the media, because the media was content to cover it 50-50. So you got one group saying it would destroy Western civilization as we know it and integrate bathrooms, and the other group saying, no, wait a minute, it already exists in Pennsylvania, it's not doing that, So, and it publicized falsehoods. So the more coverage there was of it, the more confusion there was.
I think it was a tremendous victory and terribly important for the sake of our Constitution, our whole system of government, as well as politics. It benefited women in the family because it kept us from being forced into this gender-neutral society where you have no more respect, say, for the husband, breadwinner, wife, homemaker role, which the feminists disdain.
The debates over the ERA helped to galvanize a conservative constituency. In many places, that conservative constituency was connected to conservative religiosity. That, in turn, becomes part of the moral majority. It becomes part of the new kind of direct mailing campaigns that take place to mobilize the conservative constituency. And I think it's very important in terms of the base that develops for people like Ronald Reagan, who are very, very effective at tapping into those traditional values and invoking those traditional images of flag, worship of God, belief in traditional institutions like the family.
It was a tremendous benefit to the conservative movement because it brought new people into politics who had never been in politics before. And the other point was it taught the conservative movement that we could win.
Control one house of the Congress for the first time in a quarter of a century.